everybody. Welcome to the Talking Disney podcast. We have a very special bonus episode for y'all today. We are talking about a Goofy movie with the 25th anniversary happening this year. And it just seemed like that would be really fun and positive. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford is here.
Hey.
Yes. So I'm really grateful that you had decided to take time and talk about a Goofy movie. How fun.
Well, thanks for inviting me. You're so nice to include me. And it's so fun to watch this movie again. And I'm really excited to talk with you about it. And how cool that it's, having this 25th anniversary. And, and this is a movie that a lot of people are really passionate about. So that's really fun too.
Yeah. Now, so this came out in 1995. Was this a movie that you saw in theater? Do you remember?
I remember I saw it in the theater. And I have all sorts of commentary about that, which I can give you.
Okay, good.
But yes,
Please.
I saw it in the theater. How about you? What was your?
I
when did you see it for the first time?
I have no memory of seeing this movie until fairly recently. I don't know. I very well could have. I just don't remember it. But because we did usually see most Disney films, but I don't know. I have no memory of seeing this movie in theaters. But it was. What was your experience like seeing a Goofy movie in 1995?
Well, so I went frankly with some hesitations.
Yeah,
because again, nothing against Goofy or any of that stuff, and I've seen a few episodes of the Goof Troop TV series too, but knowing that it wasn't all made at then at the time named Walt Disney Feature Animation, that it was made with some different kind of different animation groups across the Walt Disney Company. I wasn't sure. I truly despise the cheapquels.
Yeah,
that were being made at the same time, and I just felt like they, here they're making these really cheap animated sequels to some brilliant films, some wonderful films, and I just felt they were killing the brand. The Disney people, the Disney company was killing their brand by putting out the substandard product that was making them a lot of money. But the products. So anyway,
had
long
they,
answer
had
to
they
your
started
question.
those by 1995? They'd started those ones.
Return of Jafar.
Okay, so it just barely started.
Yeah.
Because
and,
maybe
there might have been another one too, but
because that was 94. Was Return of Jafar.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Just thinking. Danger,
Yeah. I think this did get kind of lumped in with the cheapquels. And I mean, I was 14 when this movie came out. So I was right at that spot where you're kind of maybe a little too cool for animation kind of a thing,
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I mean, I remember seeing Pocahontas, of course, and I remember seeing Toy Story, but that year, and loving loving Toy Story so much. And so but I don't know, I don't remember seeing a Goofy movie until I think I reviewed it for Family Movie Night. And I think that was my experience when I watched this, and you could just tell from the very start that their focus was to add emotion, to take this Saturday morning property. Basically, it was Disney Afternoon, but that kind of property. And to just add emotion and stakes and weight. And I think they did such a good job with that. And it just makes it a really unique film from Disney. There's hardly anything else that's so like contemporary, and yet I don't think it feels that dated. The sequel, which I don't hate as much as some people, but the sequel feels super dated. The sequel has like a million references to like 90s stuff, There's
Yeah.
like the X Games and everything's extreme and cool and whatever.
Yes.
but like, but but with this, there's just something that feels very timeless
Yeah, I
about this
agree.
movie.
Because I think they're able to really, I think, capture kind of the look and feel of the 90s in a way,
Yeah,
yet make it, you can really watch it anytime and still, I think, be able to
yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah,
And maybe it's just more, like, you read some of the voice casts, like um how they've got Pauly Shore, who was
yeah.
who was a VJ on MTV and a stand-up comedian and kind of just a presence on, in popular culture at the time, who not a lot of people, I think, today are really gonna know, and they're just gonna kind of laugh at this character. But then, like, oh my goodness, that's Pauly Shore,
It's
voicing a
Pauly
character
Shore's
in a Goofy
finest
movie.
hour.
I
It's his greatest
know.
achievement.
It's the truth. Yeah, forget about Encino Man or whatever. It's all, it's all about this. But I agree with you, though. Yeah, for sure.
So they have the show, the Goof Troop, and they decide they're
Yes.
going to make a TV movie. Was the original idea
Yeah, it's
off
going to
of
be like, a
the
Goof Troop movie. And Goof Troop, if I'm not mistaken, was, as we had mentioned earlier, was on the Disney Afternoon programming block, which
yes,
is syndicated programming.
and that was mostly on ABC, right?
Well, I think possibly, but I think it was on
Any
any
channel.
channel that wanted to pick it up. It was like played during the afternoon, and kind of like after school, I think, was what they were going
Yeah,
for. And but I'm trying to remember, here locally, I can't say I watched a lot of it, because it just wasn't.
yeah.
But it might have been on the ABC affiliate, but I think I kind of think it was on another
On just
just on another
anything.
channel. But anyway, regardless,
Yeah. So
syndicated.
anyway, yeah. So I guess Disney Channel was a fish was is what we think of it now, would have been later. So this would have been like maybe it would have been on like the Wonderful World of Disney or something like that. It was a TV movie for Disney,
Yeah,
and
there's gonna be some kind of a TV movie. Yeah, and I wonder
yeah,
too
that they were
where,
planning.
where they were going to planning to show it.
Hmm. And the thing about those, it's really interesting. You watch those Disney afternoon shows, and they do not hold up. I'm sorry, people. I'm nostalgic for them. They do not hold up at all. They are so repetitive, with the exception of maybe Gargoyles, which I haven't revisited in a while. They they just like the DuckTales in particular. You watch those shows, and they are the
It's
exact same
the
story
same story
over
over
and
and
over
over.
and over and over and over again. When you compare it to something like Gravity Falls, there's no comparison. Where Gravity Falls, they had to have unique storytelling every single
Every
episode because
single
people were
episode.
binge watching,
Yeah.
and so they can't do that anymore. And so, yeah, the new DuckTales, in my opinion, is way better than the old DuckTales.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
The
I
new
do.
DuckTales, though, I
And
mean, I think they really stepped up their game with this new DuckTales.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And it's better in every facet, in my opinion, the
Yeah.
storytelling especially.
And I'm
uh
not well versed in some of these other shows too. The very first
yeah,
Disney afternoon show was The Adventures of the Gummy Bears. And I'm not even,
yeah,
maybe I've seen one episode of that. I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
And
that
then
was a weird show. I mean, the fact that
DuckTales.
they were like making a show off what a food is so weird. And the gummy berry juice, and it had this great theme song, but yeah, then they had like the Quack Pack, and they had Darkwing Duck, which I love.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck, I remember
um
thinking was fun the times that I watched it. And there
yeah,
was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
yeah, it's Tailspin.
Yeah, and Tailspin.
And they had the
Yeah,
Little Mermaid show.
super catchy. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super catchy theme songs, which was
yeah,
smart because it's
yeah,
almost like, you just, you have that fun opening, and maybe
yeah.
that kind of excused some of the,
Because I was gonna cover
not
them on my
great.
channel, and I was just like, I'm just gonna make people really mad because these do not hold up at all. So I was like, forget that. But the Goof Troop, that was a show about the whole Goofy family.
Yeah,
And so they were going to do,
Goofy's a single dad with
yeah,
with his son Max,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a Mrs. I forgot if he has Max has a mom
You
in Goof Troop.
know,
I
I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
in a long time.
One of your
Yeah, I
awesome
don't.
followers is going to have to inform us on yeah, if Mrs. Goofy ever is discussed in Goof Troop.
I'm gonna look it up just because. Let's see. Mrs. Goof as let's see here. The wife of Goofy, Mrs. Goofy, also known as Mrs. Geef, is the wife of Goofy and mother of Goofy Jr. in the 1950s Goofy shorts. Okay, so we're safe. We're
Okay.
safe. We have to go back to the 1950s.
They don't ever address her. It's just like Goofy's just a single dad. And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
And then, Pete.
they Yeah, it says here there's a wide misspread misconception that the television series Goof Troop once declared her to have passed away through unknown circumstances prior to that series beginning, with Goofy supposedly telling Max that she's up there in the stars. However, this statement was never given in any episode of Goof Troop, as Max's mother was never once mentioned in the show. There we go. So now we know.
Okay. Now we know.
Scandal. Scandal. Anyway, yeah. So I have never seen a goof troop in my life. So clearly we don't know the ins and outs of that, but yeah, it's about
I've seen a handful of episodes, it's just yeah.
Well, and Max is little. He's smaller,
Yeah, Max is
right?
younger.
In Goof Troop.
Yeah, but Pete's the obnoxious neighbor.
Yeah.
And with his son PJ, and I'm not sure, frankly, if there's a Mrs. Pete either. So if there's these two single
What's
dads
going on with all the
women. But anyway, little PJ,
yeah,
is Pete's son, who's Max's friend. But
yeah.
anyway, yeah.
So this was directed by Kevin Lima, who would go on to do a lot of fun films for Disney, working with Tarzan is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, and then he directed Enchanted.
Yep. And he had wanted to do a feature with Disney, and then hadn't worked out, and so he went and he ended up kind of getting brought back as a freelancer. He was saying on that reunion thing, and then you had Jim Megan was the they had a bunch of people that they took from the show. He'd been writing on the show,
yeah,
and they brought him over to the movie.
And I think that Jim Megan guy also wrote for some other shows on the Disney Afternoon. I need to look that up. I need to look that up. But he spells his name in such an unusual way. I think I just remember seeing it on the credits. On some other shows.
Yeah. And so then they had, I believe it was another writer, Brian Pimentel.
Yeah.
They had on there. He said that, so Goofy had only been in shorts or the series up until then. He'd never been in a feature. And so this was kind of going to be a new experience for them. And I mean, out of the Fab Five, do you have a favorite of the Fab Five?
Well, probably my two favorites are Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but honestly, I like them all. Yeah, and I think that the Goofy shorts are particularly funny. But nothing makes me. I always laugh when Donald Duck gets ticked off, which is just I don't know why it is, but I just adore that.
Yeah. But, I don't know if I could pick a favorite either. I love them all. I love I think Mickey's my favorite.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think Mickey's my favorite, but I do really love Goofy, and so it's I don't know, he's a lot of fun. I do love those how to do shorts from from the 40s, 50s. They're a lot of
They're
fun.
so much fun. Yeah.
Hmm. And so, anyway, they really were focusing on bringing some more emotion into the character because it had always been just these shorts. And I think they did a really good job with that. And I think what they did, the reason why it works so well and it has such a timeless quality to it, is they focused on the frustration of both a child trying to communicate with their parent and a parent trying to communicate with the child. And that's just such a timeless situation. Sometimes, I mean, it's a coming of age film. It really
It
is.
is. Yeah. And uh, it is. I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well is because they were able to
Yeah.
pick that dynamic, which really anybody can relate to.
Yeah.
It works for adults. It works for kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So the movie, it starts out with this dream sequence of Max dreaming about Roxanne. And this, I think, is a beautiful sequence.
Oh yeah.
It's very, it's got a little bit of surrealism, which I always love that when you get a little of that in with our Disney films. And it just starts it off that they're taking this seriously, that this is a real movie.
I thought so too. I appreciate, and again, that's one of those things where it instantly feels a little different than a cheapquel because
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, the animation is just it's stepped up, and it's definitely evident in that opening sequence.
Yeah. And for Hallmark fans, they will notice the voice of Roxanne is one of the queens of Hallmark, Kelly Martin, which is kind of fun.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So there you
I
go.
wanted to ask you about
Exciting.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they had to have a new voice actor for Max because obviously he's a different age than in the show. And then I think all the rest of the voice actors were all from the show brought over.
Yes.
So, and this was, like you said, this was jointly produced by Walt Disney Feature Animation, Walt Disney Television Animation, and Disney Movie Tunes. And it was made all over the world. They
Yeah.
had people in Paris working on this. They had people in Florida working on this, like all over the place.
Australia, I
Yeah,
think, wasn't there?
in California. Yeah. So this, they were saying on the 25th anniversary reunion that Kevin Lama was working with all of them. He's like, boy, I wish we had Zoom back then. I was working them through faxes, through
fax machines
everything.
and all these conference calls and all this stuff. Because what a challenge he had.
Yeah.
And he kind of downplayed it, but I thought, wow, that really would have been hard.
Yeah, it would have been really hard for sure. Then they also had Carter Burwell as a composer, and with Shirley Walker doing the orchestration and conducting. And Shirley Walker, she did all of the music for Batman the Animated Series, and she's amazing. She's like really, really talented. And then they had Tom Snow and Jack Feldman doing the lyrics for the songs.
Yeah.
So
really good songwriting team. And then
yes,
Tevin Campbell, who was like a teen,
the Powerline.
Yeah, I played Powerline, and he was like a teen, like a teen star kind of. I think
idol.
Yeah. But he always had like A+ producers, and I thought Tevin Campbell had cool songs in the '90s. It was kind of a quintessential '90s sound, which was a really great choice, I thought, for Powerline.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, man. I wish I could have gone when they had 90s night at Disneyland last year. Oh, that looked so fun.
Didn't that look fun? I know. I thought so.
They had a whole Powerline thing, like show and stuff. Oh, that would have been the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they really did bring in some talent, bring in some great people for the music, and we get probably the best song of the movie right up front with After Today.
Oh,
and I think that
terrific.
This song has, it has like such a a vintage quality to it. It feels like I don't know. It kind of reminds me of maybe something like your Grease, your Bye Bye Birdie, like that kind of a feel
Yeah.
of a Broadway type musical. And it's just such a catchy song, and just the way that it's all staged and how bubbly it is really, really fun.
Yeah.
I love that After Today.
Yeah, I did too. And I was reminded about that because I had forgotten about some of the specifics, and
Yeah.
because it's been quite a while since I've seen this film, and uh, I was so impressed with not only the song, but just how great they put the sequence together. It's just so well animated. It also kind of reminded me of the Belle song from Beauty and the Beast, in that they're they're all these different characters you're learning about their motivations and and where they live and and all that stuff. Really, really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like I said, Bye Bye Birdie, with the
Yes.
whole telephone song at the beginning. What's
Absolutely.
the word,
Yeah.
hummingbird? Tell me quick about you. Like that kind of a feel, I think, to it. And it's just charming. That's the word, I think.
Yes.
It's super charming. And so then we meet Bobby, who's his like tech friend, I guess you'd say. And he loves spray cheese, and that's the Pauly Shore character, is Bobby. And so he does this whole surprise in the school assembly, that he plays Powerline. And I mean, I think it's kind of, I don't even know if it needs to be said, like they were like, Powerline is basically Prince.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he's basically Prince, but he's also almost seems like a hybrid of a whole bunch of different acts from the 90s. But yeah, definitely Prince.
Yeah.
I think it's
very much. Maybe a little Michael Jackson.
I was going to say, because of all the dancing he does too, maybe a little more Michael Jackson thrown in, because Prince danced around, but he also was always playing an instrument, whereas Michael was doing all that dancing.
Yeah. So Powerline's the big show. And so he stages this whole sort of thing at the school assembly where he is planning on asking Roxanne to the party. Is that right? And he's anyway, he's big on the screen.
Going to be doing a pay-per-view. He's got a big concert.
Yeah, they're gonna have a big party.
So they're gonna have this party, and Max asks Roxanne to go.
Yeah, and so this is and he sings "Stand Out." He lip syncs it, and it goes pretty well at first, and then it kind of all falls apart.
How could it not? He's Goofy's son. It kind of has to,
right. And so and then the principal, voiced by Wallace Shawn, is super upset, and so he's really mad. And then we see Goofy working as a photographer.
Yeah,
like at a Sears kind of place.
And with Pete, so Pete's his coworker too. So not only is Pete his neighbor, but he's his coworker. And they've got kind of this, Pete being just the super competitive person he is. As always, Goofy's really good at his job, which I thought was an interesting.
He's really good with kids.
He's so good with his kids, the kids, and he gets the kids to smile, and then he can get a good picture of them, right? Which I thought was actually pretty cool, that they even though he was goofy and he was stumbling around and stuff, but he was good at his job. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, how could you not smile if Goofy's taking your picture? I mean, come on. It was also, I thought, sort of nostalgic that they had a really old camera there that he's going underneath the cloth and everything, taking the this is a really old camera. I mean, it's the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
And And so Pete is saying, "Oh, you should just go on vacation with PJ." I mean, he goes and they have this great time, and you got to lay down the law with your son and all this stuff. And so Goofy's super worried about Max, and the principal calls and says, "If I were you, I'd seriously look at how you're raising your child, unless you want him to end up in the electric chair."
Yeah, which really is upsetting to Goofy.
And nobody can do cantankerous like Wallace Shawn. I mean, perfect.
Wallace Shawn wasn't he the perfect choice to be the principal?
He yes, I mean he's in this. He is. I mean, everybody knows him from Princess
Yeah.
Bride. Uh, but he's also he's the teacher in Clueless, which is the same year, 95.
Yeah. Good year.
I love Clueless is one of my all-time favorite movies.
It's so good.
And then he's also just recently, if you want to see him be a teacher now, a cantankerous teacher now, he was just in that Timmy Failure.
Yes.
Movie.
Yeah, that's on Disney Plus. Yes.
Yeah, which I loved.
I did too.
Absolutely
I thought that
movie.
was a really adorable movie.
It's it's my favorite of any they released. It was so cute. But anyway, and so he's freaking out about what this principal. I mean, electric chair. That is serious talk there. That made me laugh. And so he decides they need to go on a vacation. He basically just like forces Max into the car. They're going to go, but before that, Max is just barely, when he's leaving the principal's office, he meets Roxanne and he asks her to the party. And so he's really excited about that. Now his dad's making him go on this vacation, so he's really mad. And this I can definitely relate to. The part I can most relate to is when I was when I was like 13, 14, something like that. I had the opportunity to get a job at the movie theater with a bunch of my friends, and just probably a couple hours a week or whatever. But I was really excited. I really wanted it. And in order to get the job, you had to work over Thanksgiving. And so I begged my parents. I really wanted, but they insisted that I had to go to New York to visit to spend Thanksgiving with my aunt and uncle and cousins, which makes total sense. Of course, like you're not going to hold up the entire family so that I can have like a couple hours job at the movie theater, like which my mom would have to drive me. But I was so mad about that. I was so angry that I had to go on this vacation, or I had to go to my aunt and uncle's for Thanksgiving, and I missed out on my cool movie theater job.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and so I made everything miserable that trip. I remember just being so angry. And so I think that most of us can relate to Max like that in one way or another.
Oh, for sure. Max is just like the quintessential teenager, but again, that we all can relate to for any number of reasons. I mean, maybe our dad wasn't as Goofy, but I think you're at that age and you're just embarrassed that you have parents. It's just like
that's true. Yeah, right.
It's like it's kind of the classic teenager, thing.
Yeah, like you're so lame. Go away.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that's Max, and so Goofy's gonna take him to Destiny, Idaho, to go fishing, and so then Max tells Roxanne, "Oh, we're actually going to the Powerline concert," and that he will wave at her in the concert. And so I there's just lots of little moments that you can relate to. Like I love the whole little moment where they're flipping back and forth between their music and between his like heavy metal and Goofy's High Hopes is called. It's like an 8-track.
Yes,
I mean, that's just so classic. Who can't
I
relate to
know
that?
it is. It's so
It's
great.
so good.
And and then Max really he's started off on this adventure really on a lie, because here he tells Roxanne that
Yeah.
he's going to the Powerline concert, and then the whole time he's just like, how in the world am I going to make this happen? If at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And I think you got to give a ton of credit to Bill
oh my
Farmer
stars,
in this movie. He is just
he
incredible
is.
of voicing
Yeah, he is
Goofy.
so
He
good.
gets all that emotion, all that humor. It's a really wonderful performance
Totally agree.
that
Yeah,
he does.
yeah, he's
Um,
just terrific.
and I love the open road the way that it starts with just this
Yeah,
percussion of all these different car things happening, and then it builds and builds and builds to this really catchy road trip song.
it's a cute song, and there's all these little different cameos. Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck have a brief little,
Yes.
yeah, they show up in that song. I mean, there's all these little Easter eggs, that I think they've planted throughout it, but that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, and at one point I think somebody says, "Who's your best friend?" And Max says, "Oh, I thought it was your best friend was Donald Duck."
Yes.
And he's like, "No, you were my best friend."
Yep,
That's pretty
that was
good.
good.
Yep. So they end up going to Lester's Possum Park, which is a pretty fun iconic
Yeah,
set
it's like
piece.
the Country Bear Jamboree, but like
Yeah.
really like super janky Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah. Yeah. And Max is just so grumpy, so grumpy. And he throws the hat out. He's really upset. And Goofy says, "I thought we were just having fun." And then Max just continues to sulk. And that is every single
Oh
family
yeah,
vacation.
absolutely.
Like, I don't care who you
Yeah,
are. That is
it's
every
every family vacation, and just teenagers, right?
yeah, it is. Every family vacation has that moment of like,
Yeah,
oh, why are you making me do
yeah.
this?
I
You're
don't want to
so
do
lame.
this. Yeah. Huh.
And so I thought Bill Farmer's particularly great in that scene. And that's when we see Pete. He's also out on the open road and with this insane motorhome. And I love that motorhome. I think it's so
Uh,
fun the way it just like pops out and you've got like a bowling
and a bowling
alley
alley on
and
the
and
top
a
of
hot
it, and then
tub.
yeah, hot tub and a swimming pool that just kind of like instantly appears, and yeah, all this
That's
stuff.
my kind of
Because I
camping.
know it's like total glamping, right? It's just like this great thing. Whereas Goofy just has this little simple 2-person tent, um, but it's just kind of the Pete and Goofy
Yeah.
dynamic, particularly in Goof Troop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Jim Cummings, he described his performance of Pete as kind of basically sort of a bully
Yeah.
in this kind of a sort of a more likable bully kind of a
Yes.
thing going on here. And you definitely see that. He's not trying to be mean, but he's just sort
He's just a
of
bully. Yeah, he's the
uh
bully. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really the perfect way
Yeah.
to describe it. And I always think Pete is kind of like, I mean, we were talking about with the work and being at the photography studio. He's just super competitive, but in a way that is just like, dude, what's your problem? You both can succeed. It doesn't matter. It's always
Yeah.
like he has to be better than Goofy, and Goofy's not even. It's not even Goofy's thought process about any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and he's like really insecure too,
Yes,
which is a classic
yes,
bully situation. And he says to Goofy, if you got to keep them under your thumb, and they will never. If you keep them under your thumb, they'll never end up in the gutter. So, so Goofy decides that they have to go fishing. And so you get this whole sort of sequence of them dealing with Bigfoot. Is in this
yeah.
particular
And this part
park.
where they're camping in the woods. Yeah, that
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so there's kind of shenanigans with
Right.
Bigfoot,
Which is really
and
played for laughs.
yeah, yeah, and there's a cute scene where they end up getting some soup and in the car, and Max would always spell out different things with the alphabet soup, and he ends up with a with eating some, and he says, and then ends up with
Hi,
"Hi,
Dad,"
Dad" in the soup.
which is what he used to do when he was little. That's the one that Goofy remembers. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's kind of this tender father and
yeah,
son moment, and I think that's another one of those things where
it's cute.
they bring out some depth in Goofy, and you're like, oh my goodness, like
Hmm.
yeah, like these kind of sentimental feelings, and it's Goofy, you know.
Yeah,
So
no, it's true. It really is, and so Goofy decides that he's going to let Max be the navigator, and he's going to let him decide where they're going to stop. But Max decides to kind of be sneaky and change the map, so they end up in LA as opposed to
yeah, so they can go to the
Destiny,
Powerline
Idaho.
concert.
Yes, and so things get a lot better. But they go to the beach, to the amusement park, to Monster Truck Show. They go to the House of Yarn.
Yeah, I like all these
To
roadside attractions, you know. Yeah,
yeah. They go to, they end up in New Orleans, which I think I'm trying to figure out what they're, how, because how did they end up at the beach and then they're in New
it
Orleans?
doesn't
But
make any
nevertheless,
sense. Yeah,
there's a mime there. They were in a cave. They were in a baseball game, and they had three flat tires. So it was a pretty
they're
busy trip.
busy, and you know, I mean,
Yeah.
and as you can imagine, if you haven't seen it, you know, the Goofy's how he originally drew, you know, from to go from point A to B on the map was just lots of circles, right? I mean, so it's
Yeah.
just it's Goofy, you know.
Yeah. And they end up at the Neptune Inn, which has these water beds and little
Yeah, this
things. And
nautical themed motel. Yeah,
yeah, and that's when, and so Goofy's kind of proud of the things they've done and the relationship that they have. And that's when Pete overhears Max talking, and Pete tells Goofy that, oh, he's taking to LA,
yeah.
not
That
to Destiny,
Max is not
Idaho.
telling the truth. Yeah,
So Goofy feels really betrayed.
because he
And
had put the trust in Max to be the navigator finally, you know, and then when he
yeah,
does that,
yeah,
Max lets him down.
yeah. So they end up, the next morning they end up losing control of the car, and then while they're on over there like trying to catch the guitar, I mean the guitar, what am I saying? The car, guitar, car. When they catch up with the car, they he says to Max, "You've ruined the vacation." He says, "I didn't even want to come on this vacation in the first place." And he says, "I just wanted to take my boy fishing." And then Max says, "I'm not your little boy anymore. I have my own life." And then Goofy says, "I know that. I just wanted to be a part of it." And I think that is very good writing. I
Yeah,
really
I do
do.
too. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, again, who can't relate to
right.
that? Everyone has experienced that at one point or
Yeah,
another. Unless you're just like the only human being in the world who got along perfectly with their
right. With their
parents.
parents or with their families and everything, you know, and just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that, it's just human nature. You want to experience your own experiences. You don't want to uh you don't want to be limited, but then but also human nature to want to protect your children. So that's that dynamic going on. And I thought that was really well done, and that's when we get Nobody Else But You
yes,
in the
yeah,
songs. So, and and so then Max finally tells Goofy about Roxanne and his lie, and they end up on the waterfall. And so that's kind of a long sequence,
very
but I
long,
like the animation.
dramatic, but you know, it works as they are both. Max is telling the truth now. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and especially for the budget of this movie, I think they did a really good job with
Oh,
the
I do too.
animation. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was way lower than the other, animated films of that era.
sure.
And so the facts they were able to do so much is pretty
But you get
impressive.
again, you compare it to like the Return of Jafar. It's just night and day. It's night and
Yeah.
day of how good the
Right.
animation is with the Goofy movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. And so they end up at the Powerline concert, and this is when we get Eye to Eye,
Yes.
and they, through various shenanigans, they end up getting on the stage after all, and Roxanne
Rock
sees them,
you know,
and it's
at
just
the
fun.
pay-per-view party, so it's happy. Everybody's happy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then they get back home, and Max tells Roxanne that he had lied, and she says, "I already liked you, Max." And then he ends up introducing Roxanne to his dad, and Goofy just kind of is in the roof, gets
Yeah, he
stuck in
does the
the
Goofy
roof,
moment. Yeah.
and yeah, and that's the end. That's the end of the movie. But I think I really like the music. I really like the animation. I really like the voice work, and I really like the heart of the movie. It has a big heart uh, about uh, about a father and a son, and them trying to communicate with each other and just struggling. And I think that's what people can relate to, is that struggle.
I do too, and I've been thinking a lot about because when I saw this, in '95, I thought it was cute. I didn't hate it, but
Hmm.
it wasn't my thing, and I was really kind of putting it off with kind of the cheapos. I'm happy to, as we talked about earlier, I'm happy that I don't feel that way about it today. But what do you think? Why is this so enduring? Why has it really become a cult classic in your mind now? Because it's clearly gained all of its popularity after its theatrical run.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I think that the even if we don't really like them, I do think that there was a lot of people ended up owning those direct to
Oh yeah,
DVD films, because they would come with them, or they would be really cheap, or whatever. And I think so people ended up
yeah.
having
It was just,
this in their
they had it in their
collection.
collection, and it was part of the rotation at home, right?
Hmm.
And just with the
And
fun music and the fun story.
yeah, and if you or it's interesting because in the 80s there was you had your Don Bluth and you had your Disney kind of thing. And then in the 2000s you had DreamWorks and your Disney kind of thing. But in the 90s, when they had this incredible renaissance, there really just was Disney. And I mean, other people tried, but it wasn't even
Yeah.
close. And if you wanted something, I mean, so then you had Toy Story 95. And I think if you wanted something that was different, uh, you, that wasn't the sort of Broadway mold, there wasn't a whole lot of other things. But here you'd have a movie, an animated film with a different kind of music that was about a male character that was funny, contemporary. So I think that this, in a way, you can see why it kind of stuck out, because it was sort of the counterbalance to the Disney Renaissance, I think, in a certain
Hmm.
way. This and Toy
Yeah.
Story
Yeah. Agreed.
in a lot of ways. So and yeah, and like people watched it and they would tell other people to watch it, and there's just this nostalgia to about it. But that would be my guess, because it didn't do that well with critics
No.
either. They were pretty negative about it. But it's one that just kind of stuck around. It probably didn't hurt that you'd have things like the Disney Channel that would probably play it, and
Hmm.
and yeah, it's interesting. I guess it was nominated for some awards for the Annie Awards that year, is what I'm saying. It got Best Animated Feature, and then Best Production Design, Best Storyboarding, Best Music, Best Animation for the Annie Awards that year, which is
Yeah.
interesting. So it made some splash, I
Yes.
guess.
Well, and I think,
So
the animation community could appreciate it because, again, it was just really this interesting worldwide effort, and all these great animators were working on it. I think,
yeah.
so in that way, I just feel like it's a little extra unique.
Yeah, it says here on Wikipedia, it says the film started to gain success following its release to home media later in 1995 and soon gained a cult following, particularly among millennials who grew up with the movie from the home media
Yeah.
releases. The interest in the film is attributed to a combination of the film's catchy soundtrack as well as its story of cross generational connections between parents and children. And and Bill Farmer says the situation rings true to people. Most people thought their dad was goofy, or at least I did when I was growing up. I didn't understand where he came from. He didn't understand where I came from in a lot of ways, but we overcame those differences and bonded. And so I don't know. It's very very interesting. And you're right. They did have a big thing at D23 in 2015.
Yeah.
So
Celebrating the 20th anniversary. So that might be fun to check out. I guess one of the things too was they Bill Farmer and the actor who played Max, I guess Jason Marsden, they sang that Open Road song at the convention, which would be
really?
fun. Yeah,
That's so
so
cool.
again, I mean that's what I read. This in the summary. That would be fun. We should probably
It says here
check that out.
the panel was not expected to be one of the largest panels at D23, it ended up with the largest attended with around 1,000 fans and forcing the expo to turn away some due to lack of seating. Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly. But again, it just goes to show. I mean, this is really, this is a popular title, and it just reminded of that with all the stuff that D23 doing for this year through the 25th anniversary. They had all sorts of stuff, and I can't remember if they actually had something, if they were going to show it, have a screening of it on the Disney Studio lot before everything got shut down. But how fun they put it out on. They did that Zoom call with it, and then everybody who wants to can go out to YouTube and enjoy that. I thought that was really fun.
So we have some comments from Twitter about the film that we want to read. We have the Bostonian critic. He just gave it like 9 smiley faces with hearts.
Yes, I love that.
And MC Myers, though, he says, when I was a kid, it terrified me. My mom donated our VHS. I have never revisited it. So
do you think it was the Bigfoot section?
Yeah, probably Bigfoot. And then we have from the Animated Antic. He says, great movie. Definitely misunderstood when it first came out in 1995, but it's one of those 90s animated films that has gotten the appreciation and love it deserves over the years. It has a great story. The characters are great, and the animation captures the original shorts. Jennifer Chandler, she says, love, 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 love.
This movie, people really are passionate about this movie.
We really are. And we have a great comment from Matthew Latham. He says, amazing. I love the Americana road trip aspect of it, but also how it's so 90s, a la Rotoscopers. That's their episode is really fun on the Goofy movie. It's one of those movies where the elements shouldn't work together at all, but somehow they end up meshing together well. And also the father-son story is sweet. Also, the music is top-notch. Unfortunately for me, the only forgettable song is the one between Max and Goofy, which is sad because that's the big heart of the movie. Excited for this episode. And then we have Goofy's meta reference to Walt Disney, which takes this movie to a whole other level. So yeah, I love it. So that's fun. And then Mega Crash the Hedgehog says, One of my all-time favorite animated movies, the enriching story that teaches us about the true bond between father and son, the excellent voice work, and the insanely memorable songs. And to think this all comes from a movie about Goofy of all characters. So there we go. So
That's fun.
lots of love for a Goofy movie.
Yes.
And so thank you so much for coming and talking with me about this. This was a fun little bonus
Thank you.
to do.
This was really I agree. It was a totally fun bonus, and happy 25th anniversary to a Goofy movie. It's really, really great.
And congratulations to Kevin Lehman and the whole crew.
Absolutely.
Because they did a great job. So, Stanford, where can people find you on social media and all that fun stuff?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie blog and podcast at moviespastandpresent.com.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So make sure to check that. You can also follow us at Disney Talking on Twitter and get all the latest updates and fun stuff. So check that out. And we'll have all that information in the description section. We also have our Patreon group, which is a lot of fun. And we really, really need the support and appreciate it so much. And then we also have our merch store, which has Animation Junkie, #Animation Junkie t-shirts and other designs that you can get, which are a lot of fun. So check that out as well. And thanks again. And we are going to be talking 101 Dalmatians coming up soon.
Yay, I'm excited for that.
Very excited for that. And let us know your comments in the comment section or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts about a Goofy movie. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.